On September the 10th, 2025, a tragic event took place, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Whether you agreed with him or not, this moment marks a dark chapter for freedom of speech and civil discourse in our nation. I want to make something very clear before I go further. I do not align myself with the right or the left. What I do stand for is the truth. And today, the truth is simple but sombering. A man was killed. Not because he committed violence, but because of his words. Words that challenged. Words that sparked debate. Words that carried the freedom our founding fathers fought to protect. The fact that in our time, people can lose their jobs, their relationships, the friendships, even their lives simply for speaking what they believe, that should disturb every one of us. Celebrating someone's death because of their view isn't just sad, it's dangerous. It tears away at the very foundation of civil discussion that once defined America. Charlie Kirk wasn't perfect. None of us are. I disagreed with him on some things, but one thing I can respect was his faith in God and his willingness to talk and share the gospel, and to debate, and to shake hands at the end of the day. That's what made him stand out, and it's exactly what we're losing in this age of division and hate. In this video, I'm going to show you some responses people had to his death, and then I'll walk why celebrating this tragedy is not only wrong but dangerous. And most importantly, I'll share solutions. How can we fight back, and not with blood, but with truth, faith, and conviction? Okay, so our first clip comes from this individual, who I'm not going to give the names, but this is the first person, essentially, who is talking about this and has very strong feelings for it, so.
And all you motherfuckers that he had a wife and kids, so what? So what, legitimately though? Because you guys are really quiet about Mexicans getting deported, getting ripped from their families. What about their wives? What about their kids, right? But one rich motherfucker dies, and that's not okay. That's where you guys draw the line. Stop sucking for people that don't give a about you. Like,
okay, so that was indeed a lot to take in. Now, I hear what you're saying, but I do want to break this down first. Forced the deportation. Yes, families are separated. That is tragic. But when someone breaks the law, whether they're American or not, there are consequences. Just like an American who commits a crime goes to prison. They too are separated from their kids, their spouse, and their friends. Laws exist for a reason. We've seen this happen. What happens if there is no law? Everything goes to chaos. And how do we know this? Well, look at one of the cities that said deport the police. And so the police left, giving the citizens what they wanted, and chaos ensued. Crimes went up. Thievery kept going. Rapes rose to higher forms. And even, sadly enough, human trafficking was raised as well. You take away law and order, you get chaos. That's just facts. There's nothing else to argue there. Now, do I believe people seeking a better life here deserve safety and opportunity? Absolutely. This is America. But if someone comes here and commits crimes such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, or worse, then no, I can't defend that. Justice still applies equally. Why? Because you still have to protect the Americans who do live here. And if those Americans are not being protected at all, the ones who, pay taxes, do all these things that America asks us to do, then you are putting Americans as secondary citizens. Now, as for calling for Charlie Kirk a rich man who didn't care, that's not true. He gave everyone from any background a chance to debate him, black, white, Jewish, Palestine, believer or non-believer. If he didn't care, he wouldn't have opened up to the door to those conversations and given them a platform to state their opinions and their views. He sits down, listens to what they have to say, and then provides a conclusion. And hey, he still respects people's views. He doesn't force them. And here, let's get to the real point. I don't return hate with hate. Even if someone doesn't care about me or even hates me, God calls me to love my enemies and to forgive them. Charlie himself lived this way, not by silencing others, but by engaging with them. That's the example that we need in today, carrying forward.
You're not a better person than other people just because you aren't happy when terrible people die. Like, you're not gonna get any like brownie points. It doesn't make you a better person. Like, if you just can't find it in yourself to be happy that there is one less terrible person on this earth, then okay. But you're not better than other people just because you're not able to do that. You're not. You're really not. Like, you haven't won like the fucking Nobel Peace Prize in empathy. Like, you're not better than other people just because you feel sad when terrible people die. Like, in fact, I think that you're spineless. I think that you're a coward. Stand for something, but at the very least, you're not better than anybody else just because you can't feel that. Especially when we're celebrating people dying, that definitely would celebrate when something happens, when something bad happens to like minorities and women specifically. Like, I can't be gaslit into feeling bad about the deaths of people like that. I don't care. I don't care. I do think it's okay to wish death upon terrible people. I think it's okay to wish death upon anybody that I don't like, actually.
Okay, then. That is absolutely insane comment to have, if I'm going to be honest, and I have two ways of saying this. So, to say people do not celebrate the death are spineless or cowards, that is not strength, that is distortion. Choosing not to dance on someone's grave doesn't make a person weak, it makes them human. It shows them the value of life even when they disagreed with the one who lived it. What troubles me the most is how you've smeared Charlie with beliefs he never even held. That's not debating ideas, that's creating lies to justify hate. When you say you're glad there's one less terrible person on earth, you're not standing for justice. You're tearing down a husband, a father of two, and the man who spent his life debating those who opposed him instead of silencing them. And let's be clear, wishing death on anyone you dislike isn't bold. It's cowardly. True courage isn't found in celebrating someone else's tragedy. It is found in defending your own views, open and honestly. Courage is when someone stands for what they believe in, even when they are afraid, even when there's danger, even when it costs them something. Courage is the ability to face fear head on and still say, this is right, I am willing to defend it. That is what Charlie tried to do, and that is what real strength looks like. Honestly, this way of thinking to celebrate death and call it justice is sickening. It is absolutely sickening, and I don't use this word lightly, but it does feel demonic because it feeds on the hate, the rage, and the division. That's not how healthy society survives. Here's where I stand on this, and oh dude, I kid you not, it makes me sick that I even have to like listen to what I just heard. But I will not celebrate the death even when someone I disagree with. Instead, I will pray for those who think this way. I pray you, the person who said this, and the people around who have the same idea concept, I pray you find God and find truth and realize that real tolerance isn't about cheering when someone dies. It is about having the courage to sit down and debate on hard issues with intellect and calm reasoning, and still recognize the humanity of the person across from you. That is how healing process begins, and that is how truth spreads. Not by silencing someone with a gun barrel because you disagree with them. That goes to show that you are irrational. That goes to show that you don't care what the other person says. Even if it is the truth, you will kill them because they oppose you. That is sick. That is demonic, and honestly, that is downright disgusting. It is so disgusting to see that.
And for those of you out here like, guys, it doesn't matter what your politics are. What happened to Charlie Kirk is wrong. Okay, talk about Gaza. It doesn't matter what politics are. What's happening in Gaza is wrong. What about hate crimes on trans people? It doesn't matter what your politics are. They're a human. What's happening is wrong, right? Right? Or is it only wrong when it's a famous conservative influencer who's a white male?
Okay, so from what that woman was thinking, that it was a gotcha moment. So I hate to say this, but it was not a gotcha moment, and I will say why, and I'm going to unpack this. First, the Gaza and Israel situation. Yes, what's happening in Gaza is wrong, but what's happening in Israel is also wrong. There are blood on both sides, whether we like it or not. Both hold accountability, and the tragedy is that innocent people, children, families, and people who have nothing to do with politics are the ones who suffer. Every innocent life lost is a tragedy, no matter where it happens. Now, on hate crimes against trans people, absolutely, there are those who are wrong and should never be tolerated. Violence, harassment, and targeting people for who they are is just unacceptable. That is a given. But we also need to be clear. Saying that men belong in men's sports or that men cannot give birth is not a hate crime. It is an opinion and argument, and part of the free speech. Policing words to the point where simple disagreements is treated as hate only silences discussion and creates further resentment. Just look at the place like the UK, where people have literally been arrested for saying things others do not like. That is not justified, that is censorship. And if you think I'm joking, go ahead and go look at the UK situation yourself. There are censorship that is happening all over the UK, and people are being thrown in jail for saying something they said either a year ago on a post or something that they say to others. It is ridiculous. Now, here's the key point. Both the right and the left have their extremists who go too far. Let's be honest, this is everywhere, whether you're left, right, or centrist. But none of that justifies celebrating someone's death. Charlie Kirk used his freedom of speech to challenge the ideas, to debate hard topics, and yes, to also share the gospel. You can disagree with him, I certainly did, and still do on some issues, but to cheer his assassination while claiming to defend human rights is hypocrisy. Death should never be the cause for celebration. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Charlie Kirk. It is about us as a culture, as people, because when we celebrate the death, when we cheer because someone we disagreed with has been silenced forever, we step into a very dangerous path. Every life has value. Every person, no matter how wrong you think they are, deserves dignity, in death especially. Once we justify the hate in the name of justice, we've lost the very principles that make a debate, freedom, and truth possible. I may have not agreed with Charlie on everything, but I respected his willingness to stand to debate and keep his faith at the center of what he believed. And I will honor that, not by celebrating the death, but by carrying forward the courage to speak the truth, even when it's unpopular. So in the end, courage isn't found in hate. It isn't found in celebrating a tragedy. Courage is found when we defend our beliefs in the face of fear, when we choose forgiveness over revenge, and when we love even our enemies. That is the calling of God, and it's the only way forward if we want to heal instead of destroy. The danger of celebrating death is that it slowly destroys our own humanity. Let's not walk that path. Let's choose life, truth, and courage instead. And for those who may not agree with me, that's fine. Either way, I hope you all have a lovely and blessed day. God bless you.